welcome to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm Cam Marston. The focus of this show, workplace, workforce trends. It's what we do. It's what we delve into. And today we're going to talk about a different section, let's say, of the workforce. And if you're looking for employees, this is a section of the workforce that you've likely not considered, and perhaps rightfully so, up until what you learned today. Let's begin this way. If you're in the workforce, if you're a participant in today's workforce, the chances are you were taught at some point in your life how to participate in the workforce. Some role model, likely a parent, but it could have been a teacher, a mentor, an educator of some sort along the way, took you by the hand, metaphorically, and taught you how to work, how to go to work, what an employer is looking for. Someone took you down the road and said, this is what you've got to do to become a gainful employee at some place. Now, by saying that, it obviously assumes that there are portions of this society who have never been taught that. And this is not a group that I, frankly, had known much about until I met our guest upcoming in a moment. But there are people that have been marginalized for one reason or another. They have committed things in their background, they have done things in their background that have put them outside of the normal workforce. And they simply, and it surprises me because this is such a big and foundational part of who I am, they simply don't know how to get a job and how to maintain a job and what an employer is looking for. And there's an organization right here in Mobile that is training these people, that is taking people that we would normally give a pass to and giving them the skills necessary to become a gainful employee. It's called Ransom Ministries. And when we get Matt Armbruster on in the studio in a moment, we're going to talk about the work that they do to get people with dubious backgrounds, let's face it, with dubious backgrounds, ready for the workforce. Matt is of the firm belief that people want to work. They want to be respected and have a job and earn and feel the pride of that. However, as we drive by the people that Matt and his team focus on, and in fact, I drove by several on the way to record this program, they're standing on the side of the road, flying signs, as Matt would say, looking for help, looking for handouts. And it's Matt and his team that reach out to these people and teach them the skills necessary to get a job, to hold a job, to become valuable to an employer. What I found interesting is that most employers are looking for much of the same stuff: predictability, accountability, eye contact, the way to shake a hand, the way to address someone in a leadership position in the workplace. These are not skills that a workplace teaches. These are skills that are taught at home oftentimes, or by a mentor, or by an educator, a teacher at some point in our background, that this cut of our potential workforce has never been taught. And Matt and his team, though it's a ministry, it is a ministry, do a remarkable job of educating and bringing these people back into the workplace. And the stories that he tells are, no less than inspirational and inspire me to, after having coffee with him, saying, Matt, more people need to hear your story. When we come back from break, you're going to meet Matt Armbruster. He's going to talk about Ransom Ministries, and he's going to tell us about this often overlooked and forgotten section of the workforce that if you're looking for people, they're worth a bet from you. We'll be right back. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College.
I'm Michael Coward. My team and I will work with your corporate team to help you with your executive employee benefit plans. We offer executive retirement plans that allow you to favor your leadership team as well as 401k plans for your entire company. We've served the Mobile market for over 20 years. Call us at 251-342-0446 or find us online at cowardassociates.com. That's COWART associates.com.
Securities offered through Pro Equities, member FINRA, SIPC. Hey, this is Cam Marston. If sales in your business comes from prospecting to create leads that lead to sales, I want to tell you about Sales Up Coach, a cloud-based system created for the next generation of sales professional. There's a big difference between being busy and being effective. And Sales Up Coach helps salespeople who rely on prospecting uncover which of their activities produce the greatest results. Over time, Sales Up Coach's machine learning hones salespeople's schedule to focus only on activities that generate the most bang for the buck. Your sales team interacts with Sales Up Coach on their smartphone, and sales managers can instantly generate reports to see who is on goal and who may need additional support. Go online and take a look at this new and very powerful sales tool. Go to salesupcoach.com/Cam Marston. Watch your sales team's productivity change.
Think about how people really see you. The kid at the drive-thru just sees a coffee drinker.
Please go forward.
Your local barista sees the person who loves a smiley face in their latte.
See you next time.
It's kind of the same way with insurance. Other insurance companies just see a customer, but a State Farm agent sees more. They see you as a neighbor. Your State Farm agent is here to get to know who you really are so they can help life go right.
Call me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, in Mobile at 666-1616.
We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. This is presented by Coastal Alabama Community College. And with me is Matt Armbruster. Matt Armbruster's story is something that I think, folks, you're going to be really interested in. This guy has not lived a quote-unquote normal life. His bio is here with me, and I'm going to pull from it as we go along. It includes K-State University, a move to Mobile in 1992. But in 2010, Matt, you and your wife, Tara, founded Ransom Ministries and the first project, Ransom Cafe. First, welcome to What's Working. I appreciate your time. Looking forward to hearing about this.
Well, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Now, your program is about getting people back into the workplace, training them with the skills to get them back into the workplace. Tell me the story of how this all began.
Okay, back in 2010, I realized I was working, doing the normal thing, and I realized that there was a lot of people out there that we needed to focus on that other people weren't, because I think there's a great resource out there to put people back to work and get them back into society instead of just putting people in jail. Or we need to rehabilitate, and that's what we're missing a lot of times. So we started a cafe that was donation only. We would they'd come in, order off a menu without any prices, and then they would either put change in a box, or they would wash dishes, sweep floors. Because I'm a firm believer that people want to do things, we just don't allow them at times, because it's so much easier for them to us just to hand them $1 or $20 or a bag of food and not really make them do anything.
Let's define who we're talking about here. It's not putting someone that's been laid off at a paper mill back to work. This is a different cut of society that you're reaching out to and putting back to work. Who are these people?
That's right. Our goal is to reach out to those that are homeless, ex-felons, ex-drug addicts, the people that normal businesses don't look for. We look for those people because that's where we're going to find the ones that really can be valuable to our community instead of a burden on our community. And
so you find these people and you brought them into Ransom Cafe. You fed them. And you just said, pay whatever you can?
That's right. They pay whatever they could. We built relationship with them by sitting down with them, talking, finding out their story, because that's our problem. A lot of times we see a guy on the corner, or we see a guy coming out of rehab or out of prison, and we just assume that they're just a certain type of way. We don't understand why they got there. If we talk to people, we get to know their story, and then we can see where we can move them from then. And our biggest thing was to find out what their needs were, all right? And if there was places already meeting those needs, we would, send them there. If not, we would try to figure out a way we could help them. And
what was their common story? Well, I don't want to ask that yet. I want to know, so you opened Ransom Cafe.
That's right.
You said pay whatever you can. And would they come back on a regular basis? Did you become a second home for them?
Yeah, they'd come pretty much every week. We had 7 locations, still have 6 locations around Mobile, Baldwin County. And they come and they build relationship, and it's like their family. It's like someone that really cares about them. And then they start to share more, because once you get to know someone and they trust you, they'll share their story with you. And the common thing is that, just didn't have family, didn't have people that they had burned a lot of bridges through their actions, through the things they've done. And they just needed someone that would care about them and believe in them again. And
you would, so they're in your restaurant, they're in Ransom Cafe, they're eating. At what point did you reach out to them and say, let me help you gain the skills necessary for employment. How did that conversation go?
Well, my thing was at first, really, I just knew about food. That's what really got me started in it because I knew about food. So I had run restaurants before. And so I knew that was an easy way to get to know people. And as I got to know them, I realized I didn't really know them. I didn't know about what they were struggling with. So I actually went homeless for a little while and on purpose. It was 4 days, worst 4 days of my life. Actually, the best and worst because I learned a lot about what they struggle with on a daily basis. And it made me realize that food is good and those things, but really we got to figure out a way where they don't need the food, where they don't need to come to our soup kitchens or food pantries or churches or whatever for those services. They want to do it themselves. And we just had to figure out a way to do that. It took a while, you know. I did other ministries. We built a trailer that had washers and dryers and showers was another way we could build relationship because I realized through my homeless experience that showers and laundry were important. Food you could get pretty much, but you couldn't get that. So we built that. We pulled it around for a while, let people take showers, do laundry. And as I got to know them, I knew that that was a good service. But again, we had to find a way to get them where they didn't need those things. And I believe work is the way to do that.
You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm with Matt Armbruster. Matt, I read your book called Life Outside the Boat, and you willfully went homeless for 4 days. You left your family, your workplace, your I guess, comfort in order to live the life of these people that you were serving. And there are not many people listening to this broadcast that would willfully go through that. Why did you decide to do it, and what were the biggest takeaways at the end?
Well, I can't say I willfully did it. I just felt like I was called to do it. And so I did it. The main thing was I started talking to homeless people and actually people of not just homeless, because we don't deal with just homeless. We deal with people that have barriers to work or barriers to housing and all those different things. So I learned I didn't really know them. So they actually encouraged me to do it. And so I went out, and the takeaways were that there was a lot of injustices that were keeping them where they were. Some people I can't say want to be there. They just give up because they've been there so long. I was there 4 days and I wanted to go get drunk, to be honest with you, because it was like to kill the pain. And I know, and I felt that, so I could know they feel that even more, because I know people that have been, 4 years homeless. And I can't imagine 4 years when I went 4 days and I was ready to give up. Yeah. So when they give up, they need someone to care about them. So that's where that was my biggest takeaway was we got to look at them different. We got to look at them as vital parts of our community. They just have went the wrong way. Like a lot of us have went the wrong way in certain areas. We just had the means to not make it affect us for the rest of our lives.
We had a background. We had a backstop. We had a family, a network, something that pulled us out or got us straight. And goodness knows that's my story too. These people don't have that. Is that correct?
A lot of times they don't have it because they have burnt bridges. They have let people down. They've hurt people. Or they were raised in a family that the parents weren't there. They might have been in the same situation. It's a lot of generational poverty that we see, where it's generation after generation, and it's a cycle that they just can't get out of. They don't know how to get out of it. And again, we want to become that core family. I call them their 3 a.m. friends. I want to call someone they know they can call if they're struggling in a certain area. And that's kind of what we wanted to become as a ministry and as just people. I think it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter where you come from. We're called to love people and not look at them as outcasts, but try to pull them back into where I believe God has really made them to be.
I know the core of your work is driven by your faith, and that faith is something that in previous conversations you and I have had, something you try to transfer to these participants. Is that the case?
That's right. And I don't, faith to me, I believe a certain way. I'm not going to not love you if you don't believe the same way I believe, but I do believe that that's the way to get out of it is to trust in God and Christ and live that life. Because to me, a lot of times we've been beat down so much by humans, we can't trust them. And a lot of times what's our fault as faith-based organizations is that we just tell them, just come to Jesus or whatever and everything's going to be okay. Well, that's not true. That's a lie, really, because what really happens is they can't trust someone they can't see if they can't trust people they can see. So our goal as a ministry, as a body, is to build the rung of trust of others, because they broke that rung. It might have been when they were little, when their parents didn't take care of them, or might be later when their parents might have passed away. There's always a trauma that caused someone to get to where they were. It's a lot of different things. I mean, I can't just nail it down to one thing, but as we build that rung of trust, then they start feeling better about themselves, and then they'll trust Christ. They'll go to faith, because you can't just jump to faith without trusting people. I believe.
I think what you just said is very powerful. You can't trust someone you can't see until you can trust someone you can see. Something like that, and it sounds like a background where a lot of promises have been made, or just don't know how to do it. And when we come back from break, I want to talk about the skills that you're giving these people that are showing up, that are asking you for help, and how you train those skills, because some employer expects those skills in his or her workplace, and how they transition back into that workplace. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. With me is Matt Armbruster of Ransom Ministries. We'll be back after this break. Wondering how to begin the next chapter in your life? Wondering how to begin getting your feet back under you and try something new for the rest of your life? No place better to begin than Coastal Alabama Community College. They offer a general education degree designed for students who want to transfer to a 4-year university to complete their bachelor's degree. And these courses include things such as history, math, English, and they offer small classes, intimate classes with instructors easily available. This degree is offered on all campuses, and many of the classes that you need are offered online. Check out their catalog online at coastalalabama.edu to learn more about this degree, or stop by any Coastal Alabama campus to ask questions.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
This is Coastal Alabama Community College, where education is key and where there is opportunity in every classroom. We serve 9 counties with one common goal. Here, we come together to create a brighter future. Together, we inspire. Together, we learn. Together, we succeed. This is Coastal Alabama Community College. All together.
Hi there. I'm Josh Knoll with Gulf Coast Financial Advisors. As your business grows and you accumulate wealth, planning to protect your assets becomes more and more important. I work with individuals and business owners throughout Baldwin County to help them protect their prosperity. Call me today at 251-327-2124 or find us at gulfcoastfa.com.
Securities offered through Pro Equities, member FINRA, SIPC. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. What's Working is presented by Coastal Alabama Community College. I'm with Matt Armbruster. Matt runs Ransom Ministries here in Mobile. Matt, one of the things you guys do, the primary mission, if I understand it, is to make the people who come into your care, if that's the right word, employable. These people have historically been not someone a typical employer would bank on in terms of reliability, honesty, etc., and you change that. And as you said prior to the break, you're changing generations of attitudes and behaviors and trying to get them out of these people. What are the skills that now I'm presuming that most of the listeners out there are people who are reliable in their employment environment. In other words, they're going to come to work, they're going to come dressed somewhat appropriately, all these kinds of things. However, my perception is these are concepts that the people that you're working with have never been introduced to. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. What we see the most, and as we got to know them through the cafes and things, we realized they were just, it wasn't they were bad people. They were just missing certain things that a lot of us take for granted. You know, a parent that taught them to work, show up to work, do the things they need to do. So as I got to know them, I realized, you know, I didn't mind them coming in the cafes, and people have accused me since I got away from the cafes a little bit, even though they still run, of not caring about homeless or not caring about them. But really I care more because I want to see them succeed in what they were made to be, not just come eat once a week and talk to them once a week. I wanted them to get where they could actually work. So some of the skills that they were missing were how to shake hands, how to look someone in the eye when you shake their hand, how to carry yourself when you walk in for an interview. You know, most of the time they've 90% made up their mind the very first, you don't have to say a word and when they're interviewing you. So I talked to them about how to carry yourself. We call it the 5 Ps, you know, poise and presenting yourself and posture and all those things that we take for granted. We try to teach those things through these programs. And when we started Reprogram, we call it Reprogram because we're trying to reprogram the way people think about work, about themselves, about God, about their community, all those different things. So we bring them into a class, and at first we were bringing them straight from the cafes, and it was great. We had our first class that did great. About 90% of the ones that started finished. And they learned valuable skills like interviewing, what employers are looking for. So I bring in employers to sit in a round table, and they tell them what they look for in an employee. And then my students ask them questions. You know, what do you think about felons? What do you think about drug addiction? What's your drug policy? Because they're looking for companies that they can work for, keep their sobriety, and be successful. So we teach them those things. We also teach them what I believe that God, the first thing he did was give us a job, was take care of our earth and take care of people. And so I tell them, if God tells you to work, you need to work. You can't be in God's will if you're not working. So you have to work. So we tell them what he says about them, that they're great people. What they did is not who they are. That's just what they did. You know, a lot of us have made mistakes, like I said before, and we didn't have to carry them on forever. You know, I got guys that go to prison, pay their time, spend 4 or 5 years in prison, they get out, they carry that forever. I mean, because they got a mark on there that they got a felon, keeps them from getting jobs. So my goal with them is to understand you're not bad people, because they've been told that most of their life is that they're not good. So when someone tells you you're not good for so long, you start believing it. So then you don't think you can get a job. So what are you going to do to get money? Because all of us need money to live, to buy food, whatever. So they turn to crime, they turn to drug dealing, they turn to all the different things that we shun because we don't understand. But if we were put in a position where we couldn't get a job, our family wasn't around, we had to put food on our table, whatever, we pretty much sometimes would do anything because we're survivalists. We were made to survive, and we're going to do whatever that takes. So through that process of Reprogram, I try to teach them that they are great people, and it's not anything I do. It's just they got to understand it, you know. So we go through a 2-hour class, 16 classes, and it covers a wide variety of different things. We use Bible stories, and it actually put it to today's life. Like we talk about Joseph and how, you know, he was put in prison even though he didn't deserve it, and he was all these different things, but he still held his character. So my main focus through our program is to teach them character. Teach them that doesn't cost anything. You don't have to have an education to be a person of character, and that's being coachable, being punctual, being honest, and just doing the things that, again, a lot of us take for granted. And to be honest, there's people in the workforce now that aren't that.
Yeah, well, yeah. There are people in the workforce, and I had a conversation about one yesterday, that don't have that. Mm-hmm. But they haven't committed that major thing. That major event hasn't knocked them down.
That's right.
So they haven't had to overcome a lack of character. Mm-hmm. These guys that you're talking about have had a major traumatic event. It sounds like their stories, a major traumatic event that has put them behind, and now they're having to build up and learn these things about character. Tell me some of the stories of some of these individuals. So on the way in today to the record, I passed a couple of guys that were standing on the corner of the road holding a cardboard sign asking for help. Yeah. Give me a sense of who these people are and what some of their stories might be.
Well, I've got so many stories about different people, but once I get to know them, I realize why they are. One example is, you know, I had a young man that came through our program that's actually going through it, and he saw his mother, or he found his mother after his father had murdered her when he was 8 years old. Mm-hmm. And from that moment on, he didn't know how to deal with that trauma. And a lot of times it's kind of like a cut. If you don't heal it from the inside out, it becomes infected. And a lot of times we want to put a Band-Aid on it. We want to cover it up. We don't want to talk about it. So I get them to talk about their stories. They actually, the third day of class, they share their story, like to us, from childhood all the way through. And every one of them has a common denominator, and there is a trauma that's happened along. So he saw that happen, and that caused a ripple effect for the rest of his life. I mean, really, we say, well, don't blame your parents or whatever. Well, I've never been through that. I mean, it's hard not to blame that. It's hard not to not understand that and not have someone in your life that was there that loved you up till you were 8 years old and then gone. And so we have those stories. I have a girl that went through our program that her father was her everything. They were from a wealthy family. He took care of her. He was always there, and he died when she was a teenager of a heart attack. And from that moment forward, she was searching for love somewhere through drugs, alcohol, partying, doing all the things she did. She had to go through 13 rehabs, and her last rehab, she went through a reprogram, and now she's been clean for almost 2 years now. She's working, she's married, has a kid, all those things. Someone just had to give her that push to say, hey, you are a great person, and that what happened to you, we got to ask the question, not what's wrong with them, but what happened to them.
Right.
Because something happened. I don't care who you are. It's a guy on the corner flying a sign, whatever it is. Something happened to get you that point. They didn't wake up, or they didn't grow up saying, oh, I think I want to be a drug addict, or I think I want to be a criminal. They didn't grow up being that. It just happened. Something happened. And so we have to look at things. And again, there's some out there that they're not going to get better. I mean, they're pretty far, and they've kind of given up. Some people like the lifestyle, I guess, because there's no responsibility. But I would say that the majority of them don't want to be there. They don't want to. They just don't know how to get out.
Yeah. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm with Matt Armbruster, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College. Matt, it would seem to me, based on what you've said, that you are maintaining contact with a lot of your graduates. You're emotionally vested in many of these people, which makes you vulnerable to a stumble from them. It makes you vulnerable to that 3 a.m. phone call when they need something. So you can't do this lightly. You can't do this in your spare. I know this is your full-time work, but you can't do this lightly. You're all in with these people. What is it like to live that way?
It's great at times. It's very encouraging at times. It's very defeating at times because we can't control people. No matter what tools we give them. I tell my class all the time. I said, I can give you a hammer, and it's a tool, the same tool. You can do two things. You can tear a house down, or you can build a house with it. And it's up to you what you do with those tools. So I had to get to that point where I realized I'm just the tool giver. I'm just going to give them the tools that I think need to be done, and they've got to do what they will. So I have guys that, I have a guy that was in my very first class 5 years ago. He's still employed at the same place. He's moved up in that job. The lady tells me he's the best employee she's ever had. She's been in business 40 years. He was homeless for 4.5 years, prison 15 years. He had done a lot of really bad things and didn't feel like he could ever get out of that. And we encouraged him, and now he's doing great. He's got a place to live, driver's license, all the things. But the key is he stayed at one job for 5 years, which is unheard of most of the time in this culture. So I've really seen through that process. But then I got the same guy, got the same class, everything the same. 3 weeks, he got a great job, but he's in the crack houses again.
Yeah.
So you got to take it with the bad, the good. We have about an 80% success rate of those that go through our program, start it, graduate. That's what we have over the 5 years we've been doing it. We have about a 75% rate of those graduates getting meaningful employment. That means they've stayed at that at least a year. That's my goal. We do follow up with them. We can't follow up with all. We've had 215 people go through our class. We can't follow up with all of them. We have mentors that kind of do that too. But it's up to them. We tell them, here's our phone numbers, here's our email addresses. You call us if you have any problems, or you email us. And we tell them, I'm not going to call you every day. You need to do that. Reach out. We've had we had a girl that was on the way to the dope man's house. after she went through our program and called us, and we were able to talk her down without going there.
Yeah. So in this employment environment right now, employers are looking for people everywhere. And it sounds like you are putting people out into the work marketplace. However, that attitude of the employer has got to be a little fearful. This guy has a rap sheet, a background, has been homeless. I'm not sure I'm willing to take a bet on that. So you've got this kind of unique background from this employee, yet an employer who's desperate for employees. How do you talk to that employer and say, what do you talk to them about and say, here's why this is worth the risk?
And they're not a fit for every employer. They're not going to, some big corporation, they got certain stringent things they got to do. So you got to find the employers that are willing to take a chance. Ones that I can talk to local. It's going to be locally, guys, small. The one I was talking about, he's at a small, locally owned company. It's not real big, but he's getting a chance. And I believe that will pay off in the long run. The big thing is show successes. I can show them successes that it's worked. I can't guarantee it. You can't guarantee any employees. I don't care if they're a drug addict, felon, or a graduate of Yale. You can't guarantee an employee that's going to do what he's supposed to do. So I don't guarantee anything, but I try to meet with them and say, hey, give this guy a chance. And what we try to do is try to give them the most skills they can get to be successful. So I keep them, and we'll talk about our other program here in a little while, and I'll talk about how we'll keep them as long as they need to be successful. And that means, give them all the school, overcome some of their probation things, overcome some of their driver's licenses, housing, all the different things like that.
We need to go to break. Let's talk about that when we come back, because I know you're keeping your eyes out for what opportunities are in the marketplace to train people and to give them the skills based on what the marketplace needs. And I think it's brilliant of you to say, here are gaps in the marketplace. Let's train our people to fill those gaps. All right, we'll be back with Matt Armbruster in just a moment. You're listening to What's Working, brought to you by Coastal Alabama Community College.
Think about your home. What do you see? Do you just see 2 stories or the stories of your toddler's first steps? Now think about your car. Do you see an odometer reading or your kids reading in the back seat? Other insurance companies just see a house. They just see a car. But a State Farm agent sees what your home and your car really mean to you. So why not give them the protection they deserve?
You can reach me, State Farm agent Allison Horner, at AllisonHorner.com.
The Community Foundation of South Alabama links donors to philanthropy, builds networks across 8 counties, and builds dreams for those in need. Through our donors' gifts, we make investments that enhance our community via initiatives with broad impact. Working with you, we build communities. Contact us at communityfoundationsa.org.
Today is what you make it. Make it as original as your personal playlist. Only Community Coffee is made with 4 generations of family care and responsibly sourced premium coffee beans, expertly blended and roasted to rich, smooth perfection. Visit communitycoffee.com to learn more and make it great. Make it community. Pick up our signature blend dark roast at your local grocery store today.
I have Matt Armbruster with me. Matt runs Ransom Ministries, and the focus of their work is working with some people that, frankly, many employers would be very leery of taking a bet on. These are the homeless. These are the people who have spent time in prison. These are people that our society has historically said, not worth the bet. Let's let someone else worry about them. Matt and his ministry worries about them. He recuperates them or helps them recuperate and puts them back into the workplace. And a part of that, Matt, is you knowing what the workplace needs. For example, Ransom Cafe, you trained people in food service. You helped them get better at that. I know you're into recycling, and I want to hear about that next, but it sounds like you're not going to turn anybody over to the workplace who haven't proven themselves to you first. Is that right?
That's right. We try to make sure that they've got all the things we've given them, the tools, and they're good. They're well versed in them, the different how to interview, how to do those things. But so what we found out was we were bringing them in, we were training them in a book, right? We have a curriculum that we go by, but the problem is taking that from the book to the workplace. You know, and I get employers come in, like I told you, employer roundtables, and what they do is they sit there and they tell us what they're looking for. You know, different types of employers. I have one this Friday. I'll have a construction work. I'll have a temporary service. I've got a distributor coming. So different types of work, and they tell them what they look for. And what really blew me away was they're looking for people with character. They're not necessarily looking for like education. They want education, some of them. But they're looking for character, people that'll show up.
So it's reliability. These
That's
employers are looking for reliability. I mean, one of the oldest sayings that I can remember is you hire for attitude and then you train the skills. The attitude that these employers you're referring to are looking for is character.
That's right.
And how are they defining that? That's a broad term. Everybody feels like they know what it is, but how are they defining it?
Well, what they're defining to me, and we have these boards hanging in our where our students do class, and it's all different things like coachability, you know, punctuality, honesty, communication, attitude, humility, all those. That's what they say every time I have a employer roundtable. Those are the words they're using. They're not using. You know, you need to know how to turn a screw or you need to do this. I want those things. And again, like you said, I can teach you the skills if you're able to do those things. And the people that we deal with, the people that have barriers to employment, if you give them a chance, they'll do all those things. And I tell them all the time, you're going to set yourself apart because just because someone has a better education than you do or whatever doesn't mean that they're people of character. I mean, we see it in the news all the time of people that have all these things, but they're taking shortcuts and they're not honest and they're not dependable and they're not those things. You need to become those, and these employers it'll help you excel. I mean, we have employers that are now paying for their education to learn a skill, to do whatever they need them to do. And that's what I want people to understand is that there's a whole group of people out there, because what we want to do is we want to build more prisons. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard. So we're going to put more people in prison that are already overcrowded. And there's people in prison that need to be in prison. But I believe if you got the ones out that need to be rehabilitated, whether that be drug charges or whatever, and find out why they have those things, then you can rehabilitate them. You'll make your prison population less. You'll also then use those in your workforce here in America or wherever, and they can be vital parts of your culture. You know, there's nothing more awesome than a story of someone coming from nothing and making it work.
We love that. Everybody loves that.
Loves it.
And the people listening have an opportunity to contribute, which leads me to this. Tell me about the recycling program.
Okay, so what I was saying is I needed a place to take the book to actually real life situations. I call it a theater of work, right? We need somewhere they can get on the stage and practice what it would be like in a real job. So we searched all different things. I made crosses out of wood pallets. I've done wood refinishing. We couldn't generate enough revenue to pay them because I believe they need to be paid. You know, I believe we're not just here to give you free. They're not giving me free labor, right? So when they come through the class, so I do a class with a local rehabilitation place for women. It's called the Home of Grace. So I do classes with them Monday through Friday for 2 hours. So they're already in a program. So that's kind of my students. But then I got guys and ladies that they can't sit in a class 2 hours a day, 5 days a week and still take care of their family. They gotta work. So we came up with this program, and it was crazy how, I didn't know anything about recycling. I didn't know anything about computer. I had never opened like a computer up and saw the stuff in it.
You're not talking about aluminum cans and glass bottles.
No, I'm talking about electronic, anything with a cord. We take anything with a cord. So I learned about it, watched 300 videos on how to tear stuff apart. Me and the guy that works with me, Cameron, who's our director of recycling, he learned. We went to Indianapolis. We set it in a recycling company that's up there doing it with prisoners called Recycle Force. They taught us everything that they kind of knew, and they gave me a lot of their buyers. And so we just started. We started in January. We employed our first guy. He came out. He was living in his car. He was an he had felonies, didn't have his driver's license, even though he's living in his car. But they're going to drive anyway. That's another side note that I think we should take care of, but I can't get into all that. But One thing that he came in and he wanted to be a mechanic. Never been to mechanic school, dropped out of school when he was in 10th grade, but he learned in the backyard. And so he came in, the best worker I've ever, very analytical mind, could learn things really quick. He came on and he was our first employee. He was with us for 4 months and we got him a job at a local, in Chickasaw, a local mechanic shop. And the guy that runs it said, I've never seen a mechanic that never was trained that was so good. So we got him in the job. So my thing with the recycling is I'm giving them an opportunity. So how our day goes, I'll kind of they come in at 8 o'clock. We have a meeting just for them. That's their meeting to voice any of their concerns, talk about things that they're having problems with, whether it be at home, whether it be on the streets. Because most of my guys 3 of the 5 that we've started this year were living in the streets. So they come in, they go to work, we tear equipment apart, we go through our curriculum for 2 hours, 2 days a week. So they're learning those same skills that the other classes are, just on a longer period. At first we thought 4 months, they could stay with us, but we learned that there was a lot of things that can't be overcome in 4 months. Whether you know anything about being on color code, if you've got a drug charge, if you're at work and you're on color code and they call your color, you have a set amount of time to get to the probation office to get drug tested. Well, not many employers are going to deal with that. I mean, they can't have you leaving just on the spur of the moment. So we kind of work through that with them. We understand it. That's the whole theater of work. We're trying to teach them how. And so we teach them the ABCs, any job, a better job, a career. Taking electronics apart is their any job. So what we're teaching is not necessarily like welding or anything. We're just teaching follow directions, attention to detail, showing up to work, doing the things you need to do over a long period of time.
So this recycling. So I give you, let's say, I found a DVD player in my house not long ago. Mm-hmm. Don't even have any DVDs anymore. And I give you, you said anything with a cord. So I'm handing you a DVD player. Sure. You're teaching these guys how to disassemble this DVD player and how to break the components of that DVD player into different recyclable items, putting them in different bins, I assume,
That's
different
right.
places,
Mm-hmm.
and then taking this to be a recycling center who will buy it from you. Is that correct?
That's right. And okay, go ahead.
So what you're not, and you're paying these guys to do it, but it's the process that you're teaching.
Yeah.
Not creating a guy with an expertise in recycling. You're teaching a process. Is that correct?
That's right. And so you teach them that. They come in, I give them that DVD player. All right. I hand it to them. I said, all right, we need to break this down. There's multiple screws. They take those out. So they're learning how to use hand tools. They're doing that. They go in it. There's a board in there. You take the board out. You separate it into a pile. You take the steel, which is the actual cover and all that. Steel goes into a steel bin. You might have aluminum in there. You put the aluminum, you cut the cord off, it goes into a wire bin. So they break all that down. I sell it to different avenues. I ship some all the way to Maryland. I do some locally. And then that money pays them. We pay them an hourly wage. After a certain amount of time, we give them a raise if they show that they've reached certain benchmarks. We have benchmarks they got to reach. And before they're ready to go out into the workforce, we make sure all their benchmarks are met. And some of those are driver's license, a place to live, all those different things. So I had, one guy that I got, he was walking, he had to walk. He was living in an abandoned house. And for the first month, he walked every day. He left at 5:30 in the morning to get to work by 8 o'clock, happy as can be, got a bicycle. We got him his driver's license. Hopefully we'll have a car next week for him. He's got an apartment now that with another partner that I have that does housing, because I don't do housing right now. And he's in an apartment. So he's learning how to live in an apartment. He's learning how to budget his money so that he can pay for that apartment. He's learning how to budget his money so he can buy his insurance. Because if we find him a car, he's got to have the insurance and the tags. And so a lot of those skills we continually teach. And as they go through class, so we pay them that hourly wage. Now, the recycling doesn't bring in enough to really pay them that, so we depend on donations and different ways like that. But because there's a lot of downtime, they get paid for their class time too. So if they're in class for 2 hours, they're getting paid their hourly wage for that. If they got to go to the DMV to get their driver's license, we pay them for that. If they have to go to probation, they're getting paid during that time because it's not fair to them. Some of those things aren't their fault. So we have to make sure we work with them so they're not at a dead end the whole time. And what I'm teaching them is it's not a dead end job. You're working towards, and we do 6-month vocational plans where they set, okay, I want to be a truck driver. All right, well, what are your roadblocks? What are the and we do this with all our classes. What are your roadblocks? What are the skills you need? What are the skills you have? And then we do 3 goals over the next 6 months. You're going to reach those goals. We do SMART goals. We teach them those things because a lot of them have never set goals. They just randomly go around thinking things are going to work, and it doesn't. I tell them it's like playing darts without a dartboard. You ain't never going to know who won.
Yeah, you're just going to throw in random directions and hope something sticks there.
That's right.
So with the recycling program, you and I have spoken in the past, you need materials. And I know, just like me, there are probably people out there that say, what do I do with this DVD player? What do I do with this blank, this old piece of electronics? I've got modems that have been given to me by different technology companies to stream their internet service that are sitting there on the counter. I don't know what to do with them. These things are valuable to you.
Mm-hmm. They are. Everything with a cord is valuable to me because really, I have 3 guys right now in the program that are working, and they could produce a whole lot more than they are. We just need it. We need computers. Computers are the biggest thing, towers, laptops, things like that, because they have a lot of value in them because you have processors and if you don't know anything, they have gold, platinum, and silver in them. And what I do is send them to a place, they melt them down, and they sell it as gold, platinum, and silver. So we need as much of that as we can get. I don't charge anything for the stuff. I don't have any fees except for televisions because there's a process that has to be done that I can't do. So we do $20 for anything above a 27-inch and anything $10 for anything lower because I have to ship those off to a place that does have the facility to break them down effectively and according to the EPA.
How do people find you, Matt? If they've got a closet full of computers, if they're a business trying to get rid of old computers, how do they find you? We're coming to the close of the show. Give us your contact stuff.
Okay, you can call our office, 251-751-0044, or you can go to our website, ransomministries.com. You can email us at info@ransomministries.com. Follow us on all our, like I have a drive this weekend coming up. But we do drives. They can host a drive if the church or organization.
An electronics drive?
Electronics drive. We'll come set up a trailer. They can drop their stuff off. So there's different ways, but our drop-off time is Monday through Friday from 8 to 2 at 320 South Craft Highway in Chickasaw.
There you go. Matt, I'm impressed by what you do. You're making our community a better place, and you're getting people working that normally wouldn't have had a chance to do so again. Thank you very much for what you do for the city of Mobile and our area, and thanks for your time today.
Thanks so much for having me.
We'll be right back with final comments. What you've heard from Matt Armbruster is a tale of entrepreneurship. Matt has created something that didn't exist before and is finding a way to put people through it and to get paid doing so. It is a ministry, but it's an effort of entrepreneurism. Coastal Alabama Community College offers programs in small business and entrepreneurship. It'll introduce you to the principles of management and supervision, accounting, and small business development skills, much of which Matt is learning and teaching to his people. It's designed to help prepare individuals for management of a small business. To learn more, go to coastalalabama.edu, where you can find their online catalog, or visit any one of their campuses to learn more.
Hi, I'm Jay Stubbs with First Protective. People approaching retirement are concerned about outliving their income and being a burden on their children. They fear chronic illness, and they want to leave a legacy. If you're a life insurance producer or in the traditional investment business and this describes your clients, we can help. Call me, Jay Stubbs, 251-604-7024, or find me online at firstprotective.com.
Coastal Alabama Community College is 3 amazing colleges combined into one incredible institution. And that means we're all together. For more sports, 15 more locations, more friends, more one-on-one time with instructors, way more activities, more courses, a lot more courses, and more success for all of us. Pretty much more of everything. Coastal Alabama Community College is where everyone is. All together! Coastal Alabama Community College. Register today.
We're back. I want to thank Matt Armbruster. Folks, I've had the great pleasure of knowing Matt for a couple of years. His and my world interact a couple of different places. And the guy is all in. There's no pretense to Matt. There is no facade. He's all in for what he believes in and the way that he helps these people. And his time, when I see him, it's outside of the world of Ransom Ministries. We meet for coffee. We catch up. Our children play sports together, so we chat on the sideline. But the world that he sees is so very different than my own. And his investment in the success of these people is something that inspires me every time that I get around him. And it's not much to ask that you go to your closets, that you go to your wherever you put old discarded electronics. And if it has a cord, pull it aside and try to figure out how to get it into the hands of Ransom Ministries so that Matt can continue his ministry of getting these people who have been marginalized by our society for whatever reason into a functioning workplace job. He's teaching predictability through this recycling program. He's teaching people diligence and follow through and predictability. And my goodness, let's help them. I remember when my DirecTV units were replaced by DirecTV, I said, what do I do with the old ones? And they said, well, we're going to send you an address. You can send them to Denver and they'll recycle them. Let's not do that. Let's keep them here local. Let's help Matt however we can. Again, thanks to Matt. He's all in. He is very inspirational. Much of the comments or questions that I get in my professional world, we study demographics at my workplace and work with our clients to understand them, has moved dramatically towards inquiries about the youngest generation called the iGen. The iGen are roughly under the age of 23, 24 years old. I have 4 members of the iGen, children of mine living at my home. And people are asking me to predict how they're going to be in the workplace. What are we going to see out of this generation? Are they going to be any different, any easier, et cetera, than the millennials? Are they going to behave like their parents, who are largely the Generation Xers? Cam, what can we expect from the iGen? And as the father of 4 members of this generation, I can tell you something. Right now, they just look needy to me. All I see is needy. But there are people that are trying to predict these behaviors. Now, I fundamentally believe you don't show value systems until you're earning and spending your own money. So it's hard to predict the behavior of an entire generation who the bulk of them are not yet in the workplace. But did come across something from the British Institute for Practitioners in Advertising, saying that today's teens are more interested in spending time with loved ones than keeping up with the latest trends and racking up likes on social media. That's encouraging. I don't see it in my household, but that's very encouraging. They prioritize spending time with friends and family. Mental wellness is very important. Having a job they enjoy. Little interest in following trends or owning the latest brands of products, etc. 2/3 consider themselves activists in some respect. And the top lists of things they target: climate change, mental health, the wealth gap. And there's a big movement in the U.S. of the iGen on the never again moment, hashtag never again. It's school shootings like Parkland, Florida, and they're coming out in numbers to support a never again movement. Interesting. That's all we got for you today. Kristen Ogden manages the guests, keeps everybody scheduled. John Thompson at Ion Digital is the show's producer. I appreciate their help every time. The show would not happen. Our sponsors would not be as grateful as they are if it weren't for these 2 people. We'll have another show for you next week, folks. Have a good week.